My name is Robert Woods, and I am the director of An Ideal Host, and I put it together with my friend Tyler Jacob Jones, who wrote it. And it's a horror film, a horror comedy that we put together ourselves with no budget, just to see if we could make a horror film, basically, the kind of films that we love to watch. And thankfully, it's seemed to have paid off and gotten into festivals. So now people are out there seeing it, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Screamfest horror film festival here in LA, and that is how I first found out about it. Now, I want to take you down a walk through memory lane. Here are a series of questions that are extremely difficult, so please feel free to take your time. The first question is, what was the first horror movie you ever saw that scared the crap out of you?
I'm not sure if people would consider it a horror film. However, I was 3 years old at the time, and I saw War of the Worlds, 1953, George Powell, and it traumatized me for a good 2 years. I had trouble sleeping. The idea of aliens and extraterrestrials and being completely powerless to do anything about being invaded just shook me to my core. And some of that is definitely present in my film.
What would be the horror movie that made you a big horror movie fan?
This is a weird answer, but it was the American remake of The Ring, because I took my dad to see it and I knew a little bit about it, but the effect of seeing that in the cinema with 4 teenage girls sitting behind us, freaking out, and their horror, their fear seemed to be contagious, and it, like the way that movie worked, it kind of spread through the theater, this sense of dread, and I had never felt anything like that before. And I just thought, wow, cinema can make you feel all kinds of things like joy and happiness and sadness and tragedy, but I've never felt that kind of utter dread, and I thought that was incredible. And I just immediately tried to find any film that could possibly match that.
That was insane. That was insane. I remember I got a VHS tape of it after, and I was like, Mom, come on, like we have to get it. But I never watched it because I was like, no, like that's a little too close, you know? Like you get it, it's like, yeah, I'm such a rebel, but like you're not actually gonna put it on and watch it. If anything, you would do it like DVD.
I remember I left a blank VHS tape. I copied the actual video from the movie, and I put copy on the label, and I left it in my music teacher's pigeonhole at work, because she told me she went to a preview screening of it, and she saw it, and it scared the crap out of her. And so I saw it a week later and thought, oh, this will be a fun little thing. I didn't speak to her about it until like a month after, and said, by the way, did you happen to get, and she was like, that was you? Damn you, that scared the crap out of me.
You like it?
Everything's gonna be perfect. We've planned it all, we've thought of everything. What is it? What's wrong?
Daisy's coming.
I mean, watching the trailer, you're like, what the heck? It looks, I love how everything just starts so pristine and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, we've got this unexpected guest. And everyone's kind of been in that situation where you're like, why? I don't like that. And then everything just takes a massive turn. I feel a lot of times on my show, Horror Hangouts, I talk about wanting to expand our horizons. You know, being in the US, we're very much exposed to 70s and 80s horror movies, and even now, I mean, that are pretty like mainstream. We're like, yeah, these were made in the US and we see them. Bam, that's it. But it's like, hey guys, like there's so many more movies out there, and I have to say that I have yet to see an Australian horror movie. So
Really?
Yes, like what would you say are the biggest differences between Australian horror movies and horror movies that were made in the US?
I guess, well, horror was very big in the 80s and 70s and 80s in Australia. We had a whole Ozploitation boom then when there was actually funding from the government for that kind of thing. That's all gone now. So it's much fewer and far between to find good Australian horror films. But I would say that just our location, the outback, the isolation, and the hot desert is a very Australian horror thing. I'm thinking of like Wolf Creek and Razorback and Rogue and things like that take place in this really, really isolated country where you're at least, 100 kilometers away from anyone else. That's a big thing. The Loved Ones, that's one of my personal favorites. And definitely Wolf Creek. It's a classic.
I've heard some horror stories about, correct me if I'm wrong, are they called cane toads?
Cane toad.
Cane.
Yes.
Cane. Cane. I mean, to me, that seems like a perfect opportunity for a massive horror movie there. These are massive toads.
They are a huge pest, a huge infestation, and they are slowly spreading across the north of our country into areas that they should not be. An introduced species basically invading and killing everything in its path. So yeah, it's a big problem.
So are you saying they might inspire your next horror movie?
They definitely could. A plague of nature fighting back would be a topical issue right now. So yeah.
I need a drink. Me too.
I really hope that they root for our main character, even though she's a bit standoffish at the start. She's wonderfully played by our actress Nadia Collins, and I really hope that they take away not to be too serious about themselves, and hopefully there's an uplifting message at the end of it that we do have the strength inside ourselves to get through hard times.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I feel like we can use that at all times, but especially everything that's going on. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and hang out and talk about horror.
Yeah.
Bam, roll credits. Horror
No worries.
hangout.